This is Baruch Fleischman here at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel, and it's my pleasure to bring out today a reading, Besekindu, of Rabbi Mimran's book, all about the Vegas with Hashem, called The Ultimate Connection with God. So here we are over here in this place here, which is part 9. It's called Degrees of Unconsciousness. Now, people who know me know that I really originally started out my quest, which has led me into the Zohar and all kinds of mysticism, which is my real calling, I guess. I started out as a graduate student in psychology, and I found that the teachers really, were lost. They were teaching things, but they weren't getting to the kernel, and I wasn't religious at the time, and I was looking for the kernel, for the pneumus. And so I read many things. I read about Zen, and I read this, I read that, and we went. There was a man named a teacher by the name of Alan Watts at that time. I really liked his work. He was supposed to be a Zen Buddhist. I really didn't quite get the connection, but he was really seeking a higher level, and that's what I liked in that, but I was not reflected in my studies. So I came disillusioned, and I went over a different direction. So many years to find a book and learn Hebrew, learn Aramaic, and go through all different kinds of things, to come over here and find solutions for psychological problems, pains, the different kinds of pains we have. This is what the Zohar, the Kabbalists are all about, is really finding the real truth behind life and what's going on with us. So here we are, Rabbi Mimran. Because he was introduced to me through Chavrusa. And so now we have Rabbi Mimran here, coming over here, writing a book that right now I'm trying to use. And I recommend it to everyone to try to use his technique. What he's trying to say is that you need to become conscious that your thoughts are not you, that your feelings are not you, and that there is a you that is really deeper than that. You can access it by learning how to watch your thoughts. So if something's really bothering you, learn how to watch that thing that's bothering you. It will bring you to a different dimension, but it's not easy. And so it's not easy to be 100% successful. That's what he's going to say here. Let's look over here and see what he's going to say. It says, a person must attach his thoughts and raise them until he feels he connects to what there is to connect to. So this is all working in your mind. Remember that he talks about the fifth dimension is the dimension of the mind, because the mind can reach deeper than anything else that we do. He says after that, he has reached the level of Ruach HaKodesh. So if a person reaches the level that he can, this is his Ruach HaKodesh, then he will have sent the power from on high, which will allow him to be attached to Hashem. That's a deep thought. This is from the Torah Tamim of Yaakov Salki. How do we reach such a level? Sounded easy, right? So he says, before you were firmly before you were firmly established in the state of full consciousness, you shift back and forth for a while between consciousness and unconsciousness, between the state of presence and the state of mind identification. Now, presence means is that this is before you. In your presence, you're looking at it. And then the other part is where you just, whatever you're thinking, that's you. That's where your thought is, that where you are. You lose it, and you return to it again and again. So you can gain this level of consciousness, but then you lose it. And you come back and you do it again. Eventually, soul awareness becomes your predominant state. For most people, this is experienced either never at all, or only accidentally, and then only briefly on rare occasions, without being recognized for what it is. Most humans alternate not between consciousness, and he means to say expanded consciousness with the understanding of that there is a Shem involved in everything you do in your life. But most people do not alternate between consciousness and unconsciousness, but only between different levels of unconsciousness. In sleep, you constantly move between the phases of dream sleep or dreamless sleep and the dream state. Similarly, in wakefulness, most people only shift between ordinary unconsciousness and deep unconsciousness. Unconsciousness here means being identified with your thought processes and emotions, your reactions, desires, and aversions. It is most people's normal state. I am the way I feel. In that state, you are run by the egoic mind, and you are totally unaware of the vibrational energy of your own soul. Now remember that he talked about the string theory and all those. There is a depth here, which apparently has to do with the level of vibration. So as I am speaking, I am actually making vibrations into this microphone. And they're going out in airwaves over the internet or wherever. So he said, let me see, the vibrational energy. It is a state not of acute pain or unhappiness, but of an almost continuous low level of unease. You're worried, discontent, boredom, or nervousness. A kind of background static that is always going on in your mind. You may not realize this because it is so much part of a normal living. Just as you are not aware of a continuous low background noise, like, for example, such as the hum of an air conditioner, until it stops. When it suddenly stops, there's a sense of relief. Many people use alcohol, drugs, food, work, surfing, the internet, etc., television, or even shopping as anesthetics in an unconscious attempt to remove the basic unease. When this happens, an activity that might be very enjoyable if used in moderation becomes imbued with a compulsive or addictive quality, and all that is ever achieved through it is extremely short-lived symptom relief. When things go wrong, when the ego is threatened, or as there is a major challenge, threat, or loss, how about a lawsuit or a sickness, real or imagined, in your life situation, or let's just say you have a conflict in a relationship, you're fighting with someone, the unease of ordinary unconsciousness then turns into the pain of deep unconsciousness, a state of more acute and more obvious suffering or unhappiness. It is an intensified version of ordinary unconsciousness, different from it, not in kind, but in deed. So there is unconsciousness, and then there is the panic level of unconsciousness. Is that what we're talking about? Let me move this here. He says, in ordinary unconsciousness, habitual resistance to or denial of what is creates the unease, and discontent that most people accept as normal living. When this resistance becomes intensified through some challenge or threat to the ego, it brings up intense negativity such as anger, acute fear, aggression, depression, and so on. Deep unconsciousness also means that the emotional ego has been triggered and that you have become identified with it. When you really, really sense, really feel something bad. Physical violence would be impossible without deep unconsciousness. It can also occur easily whenever and wherever a crowd of people or even an entire nation generate a negative collective energy field. Let me read this last part. Physical violence would be impossible without deep unconsciousness. Because if we're aware of the results, we would never do it, but our emotions take us over. It can also occur easily whenever and wherever a crowd of people, gathering a crowd of people of haters, or even an entire nature generate a negative collective energy field. When resistance becomes intensified through some challenge, It brings up intense negativity, such as anger, acute fear, aggression, depression, and even physical violence. So you see here is a person who has a background or is thinking about psychotherapy, counseling, trying to help people out with different kinds of problems that they have. Here's somebody coming along and say, well, you know what? You can learn really how to look at yourself in a different way and then lift yourself beyond it and see the levels that are beyond. So anyway, we're going to go into this more. This is Baruch Fleischman at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel and saying this shir for the Devekas channel with Rabbi Mimran.